Okay, so welcome back. Today we are going to properly structure our document because what we have right now is it's not complete. There's a lot more we have to add to it. So let's start with that. First things first, I guess there's three parts to the document I want to talk about right now. And these are the doc type, the head, and the body. So first, doc type is pretty simple. All you got to do is just declare what version of HTML you are using. So there's actually different versions of HTML. You can see that here. We're working with HTML5, but there are other versions. You can look them up. I'll leave this link in the description. But HTML5 is the latest release. It's the best, most up-to-date, supports everything, improved user interactivity, and definitely the one you want to start learning. But anyways, in our code, we want to declare at the top of the page that we are working with HTML5. So you can do that by just typing, you can do that by creating an open angle bracket, an exclamation mark, and then in all caps, just type doctype, space, and then HTML, and then close the angle bracket. And the HTML just refers to HTML5, so you don't need to worry about that. If this was another version of HTML, you would have to write something else, but HTML5 is just HTML. This just tells the browser that our code is going to be written in HTML5. Next, we need a head and the body. The head just contains information about the page. Everything in here will not be shown on the website at all. It just provides the browser and search engines information about our page, and it's good practice to include as much information in here as you can. To create the head, it's just a simple head tag like any other tag, and you just create an angle bracket, type in head, close the bracket, and VS Code will just create the ending tag for you. So I'm just going to hit enter and bring that onto a new line. Lastly, we need a body. Everything in the body is what is actually physically shown and rendered on the browser. So like that H1 and paragraph tag we had earlier would go inside the body. And to create the body tag, once again, like any other tag, it's just an angle bracket. And then type in body, close it, and the closing tag is created automatically. Now one more thing, we actually also need an HTML tag. This one is really easy. Basically, all your code besides the doctype statement goes inside an HTML tag. So I'm gonna go up here and create an HTML tag. Now we have this tag, and remember all the content of the tag goes in between the opening and closing tag. So how do we put what we have so far inside here? Well, let's first hit enter and bring the closing tag on a new line. As you can see, when we press enter, VS Code brings the closing tag 2 lines down and indents our cursor. The indentation is important. All indented elements are inside the parent tag. So let's grab the head and the body, cut that, and just paste it here. And if your indentation here went away and it was your cursor back here, just hit the tab key. If you tab it, and it'll go back in, and you can just paste it and it'll paste back in. Now I'm gonna undo that real quick and show you one of the hundreds of cool things VS Code can actually do. So if you just highlight this code, you can press the Alt and the up or down key to move the chunk of code up or down a line. And when I bring it up here, it automatically indents, which is really nice. Now, once again, these two tags, the HTML opening and closing tag, the head and body are inside the HTML tag. They are the content of the HTML tag. Now that you know what all this is, let's go ahead and just delete all this, because there's actually a simpler way of writing all of this and more, which is all you have to do is type in an exclamation mark, and you see this little suggestion box that appeared. You've probably already seen it before, but I'm just going to talk about what it is right now. And it basically just auto-completes code. You can actually navigate with your arrow keys and press enter or tab on the one you want to choose. Now I want to hover over the single exclamation mark, so the one on top, and then I'm just going to press tab, and look at that. Now we have basically all this code just generated for us. And this time there's actually stuff in the header instead of leaving it blank. You actually don't need any of this stuff in the header for your site to open, but it just helps search engines, and it's good practice to include information in here. Don't worry about the syntax right now, or like, you know, this stuff right in here. I'll go over it, but you don't need to, you know, memorize all this. This is just meta information. So what is all this? These are called meta tags. And now if you notice, meta tags don't actually have a closing tag. Like, you know, the head has an opening and a closing tag, but this meta tag just has one tag, and all the information is stored in one tag. It's because meta tags are one of the few tags that don't need a closing tag because they don't actually display anything. Similar to the doc type up here, none of this shows up on the website. It just gives or alters information, so we don't need a closing tag here. This template also added a language part to our HTML tag, which again is not needed. It's just nice that it's there for search engines and anyone else reading your code. Now, this first meta tag, which again is just a tag that provides information about the site, describes the set of characters used. There's different types of character sets, and a character set is, well, you know, it's just a set of characters, but some character sets have access to more symbols or characters that you can use. Here are different character sets right here, and like a list of characters they include. Once again, I'm gonna leave this link in the description, but this UTF set is good enough for us because we're not going to be using anything outside of that. The next meta tag gives us information about browser compatibility. This is just browser compatibility, and this content, this IE just means Internet Explorer, which I hope no one uses anymore, but it's basically just saying to use the Microsoft Edge standards, because Internet Explorer is complete garbage and your website will literally never display correctly on it. So we just want to ship with Edge standards. This next one is actually really important. You probably always want to include this, and it refers to device responsiveness. Device responsiveness just means your website's ability to basically to display on different screen sizes, because obviously a phone screen is smaller than a computer screen, which means you're going to need to display a different website on mobile than the one that appears on desktop. So the name of this tag is viewport, which is the screen you're looking into or viewing the website on. Now the content is your actual website, and this is saying to set the width of your website to the size of the width of the screen. Because you don't want people on their phone scrolling sideways when viewing your page. You just want the width of your page to be the same as the device, so it covers the whole screen. And this initial scale, you always want to leave it set to 1. Lastly, this one isn't really a meta tag, and it's also really important. This is the title of the website, and as you can see, this time it has a closing tag, which means it's actually going to display something, and it's going to display the content in it, which is document. Now, I did say anything in the head tag would not display on the site, and that's still kind of true. This title is what's shown on the tab of the page. I'll show you what I mean. So if I go ahead and open my site, as you can see, it says document up here on the tab, and the title changed from, it used to say index.html because it default to the file name, but now that we have this title tag, it changed the title, which is, you know, what it says up here on the tab. And the page is still blank because we have nothing in the body. And if I were to, let's say, add an h1 tag and just type in my website, now this is in the body, so it'll actually show up on the website. So if I bring this up here, just refresh, and it'll show it on the website. There are so many more different types of meta tags. These are just a few of them. Another one I can think of off the top of my head, a really common one, is the description meta tag. So you just do meta name equals, and then description, and then the content, you could put whatever in here, which could be this is my website. And essentially what this is a description for, once again, search engines. And if I bring this over here, you can see Google has this description. This is a really bad example. Let's look at something like Tesla. As you can see, so this is their title right here. So in our code right here, they have this title written in this meta tag, and then this is their description. So Tesla is accelerating the world's transition to sustainable energy with electric cars and whatnot. They have this written basically in a meta tag called description, and they have that in their content right here. So that's kind of a bit what meta tags are. Now, I'm sorry, I did mention in the last video that I talk a lot and explain a lot, and I don't really do much on our actual website because we're like 3 videos in and all we have is a title that says my website. And I also remember saying that we would be adding more after that video, and here we are now with literally nothing added to our page. So now I'm actually serious this time. Next video, we'll start putting stuff on here. But right now, I want to do one last really cool thing. This is, I kind of need this. It's hard to, it may just makes life easier. It's a quality of life feature. And that is opening a live server. It's really easy. Basically, a live server is going to be super helpful because right now, when we write our code, we have to save it, then go back to our site and refresh the page to see the updates. But with a live server, it automatically refreshes everything when you save your code. So we'll set that up right now in VS Code. So this live server is basically going to open a website on our local host. So head over to extensions, which is the last option down on the left. And right here, search for live server. And it's this one right here. It should be the first option. It has millions of downloads. And then just gotta hit this green install button. And it might ask you to refresh your VS Code once it's done installing. I think I'm good. And let's close out of this. Just hit close this tab. And let's leave that. Now, instead of having to open the file or refresh the page every single time we make changes to our website, we can just click this button down here that says go live, or you can just right click and then there should be an option that says open with live server, which is right here. So let's just hit this go live button and you might get a pop-up. You can just allow access. And once that's done, it'll open your website, but this time it won't have a file path. It'll actually have an IP address with a port, which is your local host. So now if I go back into VS Code, I'm gonna try and split the screen here. Let me just make this a little bit bigger. And let's say I go down in here. So before, what would happen was I'd put in a paragraph tag or whatever I need. And essentially when I put something in, I'd save it and to go back here and then refresh the page to see my updates. And essentially now what I can kind of just do is if I put in a paragraph tag, I can just say, this is my first website, and I'm still on VS Code. As soon as I save it, so I hit Control S, it automatically updates and refreshes our page for us, which is really cool, and it'll make things in the future much, much easier. In the next video, we'll actually start looking at more tags and things we can actually put in on our site to make proper visual changes.